Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Watching Code Dry. Yeah. Um, so last time I was in the middle of developing an archery defense game where you're an archer, you shoot bow and arrows at dudes running at you. So I got some planning done, so I planned out a really rough implementation schedule and feature list and started implementing them. I managed to get, where are we? I managed to get to this point where we've got terrain, we have, when it loads, the ability to move around, FPS controller, we have flickery terrain, that's a feature, not a bug. And then we have a barbarian looking guy walking along the terrain, facing me, chasing me, wanting to hurt me, but instead, just hugging me with his protruding biceps. Yes, and pectorals. And very strange moustache. Okay, his eyes are weird also. So yeah, this is where we got. There's a guy chasing me, which is half the work. The next thing that I'm going to start working on, basically now, is making the player able to shoot arrows at this guy. So yeah, let's go there. Let's do that. That sounds like fun. Alright, so I'm not actually going to make the FPS, like the player, into this archer lady who is the archer I found off Mixamo. Great website, lots of free, fully rigged and animated models. Great way to get into things, because doing modeling and rigging and animating is so much effort. It's easier just to throw in this character, and then if you get big or have a game that you want to develop proper branding for, you can just develop your own from there. In fact, I think Mixamo lets you upload your own models, rig it online and animate it using their animations, so that would be a good way of getting your own characters set up for this. Don't quote me on that, because possibly it's not true. Actually, let's look at that. Mixamo. Mixamo. Let's go here. Learn more. Imagine. We can do that. Create. Rig, animate. Yeah, so from nothing, you should be able to create your own characters using this website. Really cool. That's really awesome. That looks so good. That's an animated thing. Okay, cool. So works. Yes. Use Mixamo. It's the only way to go. Okay, so this is the lady. We're not going to use her, but hopefully we can come in here and I'm gonna spend a couple of seconds going into my characters folder and then creating a dump folder for all of the stuff that doesn't work, that isn't needed. Blog, we don't need him. Disarm. Which one did I use? Standing, run, or something? Yeah. So let's put all them in a different folder, just so they're not clogging up all of the unarmed standing. I'll leave a lot of the standing ones there. Oops. Let's put all of you in there. You guys can go in there as well. Okay, so I guess that doesn't help us with Erica at all. This Erica Archer lady. Wow. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to extract the bow from her. I'm just going to, can I grab that and drop it in characters? okay, we get the Erica. Okay, so if we go back to our scene, drag in Erica. Yo, E, how's it going? Okay, and so from this model of Erica, we should be able to get some of her stuff. We can get the arrow mesh, drag it out into the world. Yeah, let's break the prefab instance because we're not actually going to use her. The bow mesh. Can I take this bow? Doesn't look. Oh, skin mesh renderer. Ugh. Okay, so currently the bow is part of the character's body. So to actually play with it separately, I'm going to make it a standard thing with a mesh filter, which is the mesh. Which currently the mesh for it, the mesh currently used is Erica Archer bow something. Erica Archer bow mesh. So if I come down here, actually, can I just drag it? No. So hopeful. Erica Archer bow mesh. Cool. So now we have the bow mesh as well as the mesh filter. We need a mesh renderer so that we can see the mesh renderer. So we can see the mesh. Okay, cool. So now we've got, that's the skinned mesh renderer one, but that's the new one. It's pink. Why is it pink? It's pink because we don't have a whatchamacallit mesh texture. Ooh, the texture comes in here. Materials. Currently no materials. What is the? Do we have the materials for this? Bow diff. Okay, so let's make this equal to bow diff, and then bam, we have a bow. And then what we do is we can. That's me, my client. It actually scares me. Not scares. Startles me constantly. Okay, so we want to remove skin mesh renderer, leaving us with just this bow, which I'm going to drag out here. And we now have a bow. And we can move the bow, and we have arrow, which we can move around now. Cool. And so I'm going to create a new folder in our characters thing, call it player, because Erica ideally will be part of the player, but not really. But not at the moment. I'll do that later if it's necessary. Maybe I'll add some hands so that you can see yourself running or drawing the bow. But that's what's important. As long as we can see the bow and we can grab the arrow, draw it back, or at least see a bow appear, put an arrow on it, draw it back, and then release it. So in player, I'm going to drag the bow and the arrow prefabs. So we got an arrow, we have a bow. Wicked. That is how I like to roll. That's how I roll. With a bow and an arrow. None of these fancy gun things. That's not how we roll. Oh, I didn't start my timer. Okay, I'm gonna start my timer again. So where's my timer? Let's start it. I spent 9 minutes. So let's start it. Cool. Okay, so timer. Time is happening. So I've now got these objects, which I can then add to the player. This Erica prefab we can delete because we don't need it anymore, and then these bow and arrow we can delete as well because we've got the prefabs stored down there. Okay, so if we go back to the player from here, so logically the way that the bow and arrowing is going to work is that we'll need to set up a effectively empty object, but it'll probably be made up mostly of the bow, which that object will have the script in it for all of the control, or at least actually the control will be in the player script, and then the player script will talk to this other script, but the bow will need a script which will spawn arrows and then has a variable called like draw, and then based on that draw it'll pull it back, and then also based on that draw, when some trigger shoot or function shoot is called, it will set that arrow, give that arrow a velocity equal to the draw distance or some function of the draw distance. Yeah, so effectively I'll have an invisible object, I'll call it arrow gun. Let's do this. Okay, so if we go create an empty object inside the player, we'll call it arrow gun, and then inside arrow gun, because arrow gun is invisible. It's invisible. Let's create a cube. It's too big. Arrow gun, and we'll make that small. And so this arrow gun point is where I want the arrow to spawn, and so I can move it around and I can have my player carry that object, and if that's where, like wherever that is, it'll spawn in that direction, and at that point. So that just makes it easier to do things. What is going on? Why is everything rock and rolling? Let's go into the cube. Okay, so my arrow gun, which is now, that cube shows where the arrow gun is in space, and let's move it up. Where are you, arrow gun? So cool. So the arrow will spawn at that point, and I should be able to move around, and then I should, yeah, okay, arrow gun's gonna have to get childed to the camera, so it will move around with the camera because the camera is where we're looking, and then yeah, pew, 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 pew. And I can go shoot my guy. Okay, so that cube is where stuff will spawn, and I'm going to make it smaller because I can. Cool, and then we'll pull it back a little bit. Okay, so that's where my arrow is going to spawn. Cool, so let's create a script. New script, arrow gun script. And so this script will be in charge of the functions of the arrow gun. It won't necessarily be in charge of what to call when. So it will let my character controller shoot arrows. Arrow gun script. Okay, so let's create a function shoot. So shoot will be responsible for releasing the arrow. Up here I'll need a float draw, which is how far the, I can't spell public, how far the arrow has been drawn back. So that point, I'm going to make the end of the arrow, so that where the fletching is of the arrow, spawn at that point, and then as you draw it back, it's going to go further back from through that point, and then it'll have a max draw or something, based on the length of the arrow. Public, which will also cap the speed at which you can shoot it at. Max draw, and then we'll make that equal 3 for now. I have no idea what these units mean yet. We have a shoot, and then public void arm, which is responsible for arming the bow. So the bow will be armed, i.e. the arrow put in the bow, and so you won't be able to shoot without you won't be able to shoot unless you're armed. And so arm will be the way it'll work functionally with the FPS control will be when it detects the mouse click down, it'll arm it and then slowly start increasing the draw, and then when it detects the mouse up, it will shoot, and the shoot function will shoot it at a distance based on the draw, and it'll shoot straight out from our arrow gun, which will be whatever direction we're facing. So that should work out pretty well. What I need public boolean is armed equals false. So we say we're false, and then when we arm, we go at the end of this, we'll have a is armed equals, so after we arm it, at the end of that we'll go is armed equals true. So we are armed, just so that other functions can see whether it's armed or not without having to look at what's where. Is armed is equal to false after we shoot it, because theoretically, well, let's do add velocity to the arrow. And another thing we want up here is public game object arrow, and so that will let us create, that'll just let us drop the arrow prefab straight into that. Okay, so draw, max draw, arrow, and arrow will come from our player. Arrow has the objecty stuff, and then where's our arrow gun? Cool. And let's Google, rather than having to think and figure out how functions work, we go Unity instantiate object, because there's always little things that I forget, and it's easier just to get something from the docs. Okay, so when we arm it, we go instantiate the arrow, and I'm also a terrible typer, that's why I like copy pasting things. Instantiate has the object, the vector 3 there is the position, and then we have the quaternion, which is the rotation. So the position we want to instantiate at is equal to, this is the arrow gun, so the arrow gun is at the point we want to instantiate it, so it will be, the arrow gun script is attached to the arrow gun, so we can just get the transform of the arrow gun position. So that's the position of the arrow. That, and then rather than having the arrow instantiate straight no matter what direction you are, we want again the transform of our arrow gun dot rotation. Okay, so we instantiate arrow at position. Cool. And so we run that. I haven't created a thing. Let's create some basic controls first. Let's create a player controller and some basic controls so I can actually test some of these things easier. Player controller. And so player controller, cool, reload all, whatever. Basic functions. If input dot get mouse button down, and I believe 0 is the left mouse button, so that just says in our player script, every frame it'll check to see if the mouse button is down, and if it is, we'll go if it is, let's get that arrow gun. We'll go get component in children. So the player is at the top of the hierarchy over here, and then in there somewhere is the arrow gun, and the arrow gun has the arrow gun script, and so the component we want to get is the arrow gun script. Arrow gun script, and so that will let us use that'll let us use the functions we write in that to do stuff. So I'm just going to save it as a variable. So what do I call it? Will it be an arrow gun script? Arrow gun script. We'll call it bow because that's what an arrow gun is. Bow equals, create a reference for it in start because we're not allowed to execute code outside of functions. In here we'll go bow equals that, and then here we can do stuff like simply go bow.arm. Cool. And so now when I click, I should spawn an arrow. Because we run this function which will instantiate that and then make his arm true. Okay, let's run this puppy. Speaking of puppy, and then cool. Ooh, it doesn't follow. I need to parent it. Okay, so it appears, but it's not. It's stuck in space because I haven't parented it to anything. So let's create a reference that we can use. Game object arrow equals new arrow equals copy of the object. Okay, it's not necessarily a game object, it's just an object. Okay, so we've created the new arrow, and then we go, this is the arrow gun, we can go new arrow dot parent dot trans, okay, let's cast this to a game object, because I'm pretty sure it should be, transform dot parent, and the parent equals transform, which is this transform. So when I create the new arrow, I will make it so that that arrow's parent is the player, like the arrow gun, sorry. So when I run it and then I create it, the arrow moves around with me. Cool, and I can go, well, I can't. And then every arrow I create is parent to me. So part of shooting will be taking off that parent, making that parent something else. Okay, so I'm going to create a game object, got, maybe go armed arrow. Armed arrow can be that, and then I can hopefully cast that to a game object right here. Pretty sure I can, yeah. And then armed arrow. Okay, so now here we can go armed arrow dot parent. Let's create create empty. So I've created an empty game object called fallen arrows so that I can just, if I shoot an arrow and it hasn't hit anyone or anything, it's just fallen. So that means that when I shoot, I can no longer parent it to the arrow gun, because the arrow gun is only for once it's shot, the arrow gun no longer cares about it. So here we want to do is we find game object dot find, and what we want to find is fallen arrows dot transform dot transform. So once we've shot it, it will make the arrow child of fallen arrows, and so you'll be able to see that as I'm clicking. When I click down, arrow gun will get an arrow, which I'm going to change the name because bow, because I'm sick of the big names. Arrow. Okay, so yeah, it'll create an arrow there, and then when I let go, after I code that in, it will add that to fallen arrows. So we'll save that. Player controller. If get mouse button up, and I say two distinct if statements just so it can run both in one frame. If I'm fast enough to click down and up in one frame, which I don't think is possible because the way frames work, it will run the update once, finish the frame, then run it again. So bow.shoot. So when I click, I get an arrow. When I let go, it's there, it stopped. And I can create more. Yeah, okay, so I can click and create arrows. Not that great arrows, but oh well. Okay, so what I need to do now is, because the arrow just sits there in space, let's add some physics to it. So let's add a rigid body. Mass. Let's say 0.5. Use gravity. Yes. Yes. Cool. And so that should theoretically mean that when I click it, it falls. Okay. Okay. Cool. It falls. So arm it. Maybe I'll make it default no gravity, and then when I shoot, it will add it. So arrow dot get component rigid body dot gravity, use gravity equals true. Cool. So should mean that there's no gravity whilst I'm holding it, and then when I let go, it drops. Cool. 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 Another thing that I need to do is I need to shift it forward a bit, which means it's in the Z direction. When I instantiate the arrow, if I add a new vector 3 to it, I can add something to the Z coordinate. Yeah, So X, Y, Z. So now when I instantiate the arrows, I think it's the negative, so it needs to be -3. So, interestingly enough, I think there is someone who lives right there that has a ice cream truck thing built into their car. So, yeah, that's really fun. I'm going to move this down to 0.5 for testing. Okay, it's over there. Oh, because it's... plus, vector, no, transform dot position dot 4. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. Christmas has arrived. Christmas is hooning around the streets. Transform dot forward. Okay, so hopefully that'll push it forward by 1 forward unit. And maybe we'll subtract forward. Let's make it go backwards. Did I not click when it was forwards? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was distracted by Christmas. There we go. It's forward by a whole lot. So forwards times 0.2. F. Yep. Because you can multiply a vector 3 by a foot, because then it just multiplies out by each coordinate. Yeah. Okay, that's actually pretty good. Okay, so if I want to draw it back, in the update function, so I'm gonna because I want the arrow to move back as I draw it. It's basically what we just established there, moving it back slightly. Basically, every function I just want to multiply by, like, draw or something. Draw. So transform dot position. So the position is equal to the current position plus some forward value, which I think the cube is backwards, so that away. Times draw. Maybe we'll subtract. So I want to make it so that I don't have to click it. I'm just gonna, in my player controller, I'm just going to immediately arm the bow. And so I should automatically have an arrow. Cool. And then if I escape and go to my arrow gun, I should be able to play with the draw. What happened? Where did my cube go? Am I moving the gun, not the arrow? Because it's the arrow gun. Okay, armed arrow. Basically, instead of using all of the transformed opposition, which is the whatever the script is attached to's transform, I switched it out to armed arrow, which is the arrow we've got times whatever. Okay. Cool. And then we want to draw it. Whoops. Okay, let's go arrow. We want a vector 3 called arrow rest, which is the position at which the arrow is at rest, and then that can equal, and then when we arm it, we create arrow rest is equal to the position of the arrow. So that's just a not changing position, because at the moment it's accelerating the arrow in the direction as according to the value of draw. So if I create a thing that's not changing, I should be able to create a nice movement thingy. What is this error? I forgot a semicolon. Rookie error. And got an arrow. Okay. That did not work out very well. Maybe I'll make it equal. Stuff that. I'll make it equal relative to the so if I do I believe that the problem was I want to set the problem was that I was using its own position, whereas I want to use the static gun position. So I'm setting the arrow position to equal basically what it was at the beginning. So yeah, that's what it is at the beginning, and when I do that, I wonder what will happen, because it's probably going to move, because it's going to be relative. Nope, we good. And now it's a simple matter of changing this initial draw by adding draw to it. So when I come back here, I should be able to draw. Nice. So when I draw it back, hello. I'm going to turn all that off because so we're not in its position, because the problem is that the position is relative to the arrow gun, and so that's why when I'm turning around and stuff, maybe that. Or it's a problem because I'm here. I'll need to make draw equals 0. Just so that when after I've shot, the next arrow that I arm won't be pre-drawn, because that's not how arrows work. So if I draw, my arrow is drawn. Okay. Okay, let's get rid of you. We'll now arm properly. So, wrong script. Player controller bow. We want a public bool called held equals false. So that will help us. That'll help the other script draw the bow back. That's wrong script again. The gun script. Oh, is armed is basically that function. Okay, never mind. Never mind. If we are armed, we want let's give a public float draw speed equals 0.1 f. 0.01 f. Sure. If we are armed, we'll go by the frame rate. The frame rate will be like 30 frames per second, so each frame will move it that much, and so every second it'll move 0.3 units. Draw plus equals draw speed. Okay, so while we're armed, the draw is happening. Otherwise, draw equals 0. Cool, so I'll get rid of that because it's better to have it in one place. So every frame, if we're armed, we're going to be moving back, otherwise our draw is 0. Don't know if that still has, whatever. Which means we should be able to what is not set to an object? What if I was to draw? Oh, because that's the transform position. Let's see if there's anything. Armed arrow dot transform dot position dot equals armed arrow dot transform dot position subtract vector 3 dot back okay, let's go 3 vector 3 arrow starts, and when we arm it, arrow start equals armed arrow dot transform dot position dot so it's setting the position to be the start. That should be fine. It probably won't rotate well because I haven't rotated it. So I will need to fix this null error. What is the null error? Draw exists. Object reference not set to an instance. Okay. Because there's no arrow there, it's like, what is an arrow? So we have to do it in there when we know we've got an arrow. Well, it works. It's a really slow way of shooting him. Shoot. Okay. So we want to go back. Fine. Subtract forwards. So hopefully when we click cool, so it goes back and we draw it, but we need to now take into account our max draw. So if draw is less than or equal to max draw, we let the draw happen, and we can do the actual drawing of it as well in there, because otherwise. So now I should be able to click and we'll get a max draw. Let's click on the arrow gun just so we can see how far we draw. 3 is way too much. Like 1 is probably, there we go. It's theoretically stopped. Let's make max draw like 0.8. And we go! Draw back. Max draw is still 3. So when you edit things here, it stops taking values from in there, which is annoying. Let's reset it. I'll need to redrag. I'll need to redrag the arrow back, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Arrow. Cool. 0.8. Let's make it 0.5. Let's make it 0.5. Ooh. What was that? Huh. See if I move. What if I don't see why that doesn't work, especially seeing as now I fixed it from the null. Now 0.5. Let's move it forward a little. Arrow gun. Little forward. Little that way. I think it's to do with the camera and the field of view, clipping planes. Let's go 2, 3. 0.1. Let's just make it really, so hopefully we can see more of the arrow. G. So that initial position is so close now. Okay. Something is screwy with the terrain. Terrain glider works. I don't even. Pixel error. Base map dist. Oh, that is coming at me. Cast shadows, yes. Material. Reflection probes off. There we go. Now, reflection probes off. So, I shouldn't get that. Turn shadows off. Does that mean I can go to maybe simple reflection probes? Cool. Ah, okay, so I'm going to take that out of that because once it reaches full draw, it stops maintaining its position and it goes crazy. So I can come up here and go like, take that. No, take that. Fill you with arrows. Fill you with arrows. Hey, I could use this to kill him. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it so that brute controller maybe I'll do it in the because the arrow doesn't have a script itself, does it? No. Okay, I'll just do it in him. I need to make sure that the brute has a collider. What kind of collider? Capsule collider. Let's go to brute. Capsule collider, height, radius, direction. Yes. Let's move it. Wait. It's starts. Yeah, that's good enough. Good enough. And then the arrow is going to have. Oh, that's going to be fun. To have a. Wait a minute. Okay, cool. If I bring in an arrow. Whoa. I don't even know what's happening. Come to me, little arrow. Come to me. Okay, so the radius direction is going to be the z-axis. The radius is going to be eensy weensy. But then they're gonna increase the height. and then let's move it up. Not rotate. Move it up a little bit, and move it a bit closer so we can see it. Okay. So I'm going to down the radius a bit more again. 0.1, 0.01. Sure. Cool. I'm going to apply that to the prefab, and then the prefab should then have those values. Yep. And then we can delete this arrow. Okay, and I don't think player has a collider. Yeah. Doing that hopefully doesn't screw with. Yep, it does. So let's make the player collider a trigger, just so that I don't know, trigger. Turn it off. Can we? Make the arrow a trigger, because there we go. And then the brute collider will go here, and we'll go on Unity, on trigger, enter. See, I don't remember what any of these are called. I don't remember how to, I would be happy to use them, but it's easier to just remember what I need and then copy paste from an internet search. Log other dot name. Okay, so when brute controller has a trigger enter it, we should be able to it should start spitting out the name of the object that enters it, or the trigger that enters it. Okay, so if I hold out this and then come up here, I should be able to prod him with it, and then there we go, we get the name. Okay, and so what we want to do then is we want to reparent the arrow to the barbarian because we want it to stick in him. So we will go other dot game object dot transform dot parent equals this transform. Cool. So when I stick him with an arrow, it probably won't work because I've still got the function to move the arrow around. And I'm going to turn off gravity as well. Other dot game object dot get component. We want to get the rigid body. Dot use gravity equals false. So the moment this is not going to work very well at all because all the functions, the shoot and the aim function, the shoot and arm functions will mess with this. Well, yeah, but you can see over on the left part of the Unity window that when he touches it, the arrow reparents to him, so that's fine. I just need to velocity. Okay, I don't know why I've been procrastinating it. Armed arrow dot get component rigid body, because that's what takes care of all physics. Dot add. What do I want? I want to add a velocity to it. Add force. Add position. No. Add force. Okay. So add a force. And then what it wants is a new. No. What we want to do is we want to use the arrow's forward vector, which is straight forward from the arrow. We want to use that as the force, but what we'll do is we'll get the magnitude of it, i.e. make it all kind of one unit, and then we'll multiply that by the draw, add a force. Arrow dot transform dot forward dot magnitude times draw. What is your problem? Not magnitude dot normalized. Sorry. Yeah, the magnitude is how long is that force that is represented by all three axes. Normalize means that we'll make them all sort of a scale of 0 to 1. By doing that, it means that if the transform forward is, the transform forward is normalized anyway. Oh well. There we go. Dot velocity equals that. Because so it's not working. Could be the order at which I'm doing things. Rigid body. Okay, well, I'm going to call that another hour. We did a lot of the setup for the, a lot of the scripting. So, set up the, sort of the arrow gun, grab the models that I need, set up a lot of scripts and collisions. Yeah, it should be fine. Just once I get the velocity thing worked out, which will happen next time, we should be able to shoot him and then see him die, because we've already got the that stuff happening. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.